And welcome back to Beyond the Boards Hockey here on OntarioSportsRadio.com. I am your host, Vishal Hussain, and I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to introduce our next guest on today's show. He's the Assistant General Manager for the St. Louis Blues, the legendary Martin Brodeur. Marty, thanks for joining us.
No, not a problem.
Just a quick recap of your Hall of Fame resume. 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, World Cup of Hockey, 4-time Vezina Trophy winner, 5-time William Jennings Award winner, the 1994 Calder Trophy winner, 9-time All-Star, and of course the NHL's all-time wins and shutouts leader with 691 and 125 respectively. Marty, when you hear those accolades, I'm sure you hear them a lot. Are they still surreal to you?
A little bit. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest, I guess. But no, it's like anything. I'm really proud about what I accomplished in my career. So it's always nice to kind of hear all the accomplishments. But again, like hockey was good to me. So it's kind of nice to be able to still be in the game.
Do you ever get tired of hearing those, or is it always just as enjoyable as the first time you heard it?
Well, you know what? When I was playing, I didn't really like hearing them that much because I knew there was more to come. But now that's it. So, so I got these numbers, and they're pretty sweet to hear.
Now, you've made your way over to the management side of the game, and you're with St. Louis. What has that transition been like? I know it happened really quick. You retire mid-season, and then almost right into it immediately.
Well, it's been interesting. I think it's a big learning curve. I think as a player, you're used to have your own routine and do things to get ready. Now in the management, it's a little different. I'm a rookie all over again, so taking a lot of orders from the people above me, and it's been nice. It's been a great change. I think just staying in the game. This is what I wanted. Didn't want to take too much time off, and kind of lose sight of what I really enjoy. And so far, it's been a great transition.
Now, you're named assistant GM in St. Louis on May 20th. What have you learned in your first few months on the job?
Well, I think we went through my first draft. That was interesting. I think for me, never really kind of paid attention how everything is set up. Our team goes through a draft. You kind of see the result at the end, but I think when you're involved in the talks and in the way everything is set up, it was really interesting. Again, everything that I do now, it's a first. Could be free agency on July 1st. Now my first training camp, so it's kind of everything's new to me. Every time I do something, it's something that I've never done before. So I guess I'm just kind of putting my work boots on and try to enjoy as much as I can and learn as much as I can.
The Blues have had, quite a productive summer. There's the TJ Oshie trade and the Vladimir Tarasenko signing. How much of an input did you have on that? And, you played with one of Tarasenko's teammates in Russia, Ilya Kovalchuk. Is there a similarity between those two players?
Well, Vladdy's a good player. He's a good goal scorer. He loves the game. He's young. He's an impact player for our organization, so definitely, and it was nice for us to be able to lock him in for so long. I think he's the face of the franchise to a certain extent in St. Louis. For sure, when you look at the Russian players, you always, try to compare them a little bit. But Kobe was a lot different, a lot more skating ability. Was a little different. Definitely, sometimes could be a more physical guy too. Vladdy's just a kid that wants to be better every day. Works really hard at his game. Is really focused on trying to be the best he can be. But both are great players, and I was fortunate to play with both of them.
You mentioned that you're sitting at the draft table this year, your first time. Well, second time. The first time announcing Anthony's draft in New Jersey. But how enjoyable was it to watch other people's kids fulfill their dreams at the draft?
Well, I think that's the beauty of it, just to see the faces when their names are called, their families, some organization. I know we did a kid in the 5th round that is from St. Louis, so it was an exciting moment for him. A team that he saw, growing up, always root for, and next thing you know, you're drafted by them. It's kind of nice to kind of see that, because I'm not far away from playing the game, so you kind of relate to these guys a little bit still.
How welcoming has the city of St. Louis been to the Brodeur family? Have you guys moved there, or are you guys still in New Jersey?
No, we've moved there. Our son, our little one, is at school here in St. Louis. No, transition was great. For me to spend so much time in New Jersey and not really know what was going to happen. Signing in St. Louis, and well, we all know what happened after that. But we can't be more thankful about the way the people received us here in St. Louis, and it wasn't too hard to make our home here. It's a really nice place to live.
Does it strike you as a bit ironic to end up on a team called St. Louis after spending so long with New Jersey, where former GM Lou Lamoriello is sort of viewed as St. Lou himself?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely, it was a little shock. But again, everything happens for a reason, and I'm definitely excited that I made that decision last year.
Now, both your sons are in hockey, and I had the pleasure of calling Jeremy's first game in Mississauga in the OHL last year. And your oldest son, Anthony, is going to be playing in Penticton, British Columbia. Are you going to get any chances, because you're so busy with the Blues, to check out, how your boys are doing?
Yeah, definitely. It's easy through the radio or the internet, but I'll be doing some scouting trips, so for sure I'm gonna kind of cheat and go see these teams a little more often, maybe.
Does Jeremy ever give you the business about having a Memorial Cup ring, which is one of the championships that eluded you?
Yeah, well, he waved it in my face all summer long, so it was an exciting time for him. He was part of the team, and I know it's hard sometimes not to play, but I think what they accomplished over there was just pretty good, and he was really excited. He's excited to get back in training camp this week there in Oshawa.
Does he have an inside track on that number one job after kind of being an apprentice to Kenny Appleby last year?
Well, he's worked hard all summer. It's about him trying to do his own thing, and hopefully he's going to have a chance. I think he was real patient. He was a really good teammate all year last year, and hopefully it's his time is this year. So we'll see, but it's in his hands. It's about him to be able to perform at that level.
A lot of people look at him and they're like, he's a splitting image of a young Marty Brodeur. It's unbelievable, actually, how much he looks like you.
Yeah, well, he's maybe the look of it, but I don't know how he plays the game. It's a little too much butterfly for me.
I know. That's the one thing I noticed. I said, you're on your knees a lot. Your dad didn't do a whole lot of that. Well, he said, it was interesting. He actually said to me that Pekka Rinne was his favorite goaltender. Did you know about that?
Yeah, he was. I know. I had to bring a couple sticks back in the day for him, for Jeremy from Pekka.
That's funny. Circling back to your playing career now, do you ever wonder where your numbers would be if you didn't miss the equivalent of 2 seasons to lockouts and 50 games with an elbow injury?
Yeah, well, injury-wise, I was fortunate. Yeah, it was a big injury. It was later on in my career, but, missing 50 games in a 20-year career, it's not too bad. So I got lucky on that part. Definitely the lockouts are the one that's a little tougher. But, everybody has to deal with certain things in their own career, and me was some work stoppages. But, I'm never really thought about it too much. I'm on top now in certain categories, and, it's going to be a great challenge for other goalies to try to find me and try to get me.
Do you have anybody that's caught your eye in terms of young goalies that might have a shot with the implementation of the shootout?
Well, it's kind of hard to look at. I never really pay attention where certain guys are at as far as their stats and stuff, but it's there to be taken. When I started, I thought that these goals were not achievable, and next thing you know, I was able to blow by them. So you never know what the goalie is kind of a tricky situation a little bit, but there's some really good talent out there right now.
I think I can say with certainty that the 125 shutouts is just unbelievable and probably won't be broken with the way the game's going. But you had a lot of backup goalies in your career. Which were some of your favorites to team up with?
Well, all of them were really nice. I think they kind of understood a little bit the situation. They knew I was going to play most of the game, if all the games, so it takes a special character. But Chris Torreri was my first backup really in the NHL. He's a guy that took his job, and he became my backup, and we had a lot of success as a tandem, winning 2 Stanley Cups together. but again, like, it's kind of hard to pick one or two that were. Everybody was real nice. Kevin Weeks spent a couple of years with me. It was fun to have around. Johan Edberg also later on in my career was nice. So most of these guys, they had a job to do and they did it real well. As a number one goalie, it's always nice to have a guy that's right there and try to help you as much as you can. And when you don't do well, they could jump in and help the team out also.
Speaking of favorites, have you ever had a look at any of the highlight reels that are available on YouTube? And is there any save that stands out to you in particular in your career that you're like, that was my favorite save that I've ever made?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard. There's a bunch of them. It's funny when you start looking at them. A lot of them are similar. But there's a few of them. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite ones is the Stanley Cup Finals in 1995 when Chris Draper tried to wrap the puck around, and I was on my back and I was able to kind of put my stick on the goal line, and he kept on jamming at it. The puck never crossed the goal line, and we got that on video. We got that on still pictures, and it's kind of pretty cool save there.
Speaking of saves at the Joe Louis Arena, there's one that I feel like maybe I've dreamt it, but it's so vivid to me. It was in Detroit in 1996. Fedorov comes in on a 2-on-0, and he takes a blast from the top of the circle. You went from your left post to the right, stick parallel in the air, and were able to knock the puck away, and you guys would go on to win 2-0. I think I've heard Doc Emmerich say that that's one of your favorite saves, but I'm not sure if I imagine that, because they're...
No, you're right. I actually, when you were describing it, I remembered it too. So yeah, it was one of the save I made that is kind of pretty spectacular. But it was funny because that was one of the... I think it was in the third period, and I don't think Detroit got shut out in so many years at Joe Louis Arena, and so. They threw the kitchen thing at me. It was a lot of shots that game. And, that save definitely, I remember seeing the highlight of Doc calling it. It was pretty cool. There's no video of that save anywhere on the internet. I've looked all over for it, and it's just not there. You think maybe you'd be able to find it from the old Sports Channel vaults? Yeah, I don't know about that.
How enjoyable, you had many great moments in your career, but 2012 is one that's, seared in people's memories just because you're 40 at the time. You dispatch the Flyers in convincing fashion. Then finally the ghosts of 94 are gone by upending the Rangers. Did all that matter, or is it irrelevant just because of the result of the Stanley Cup final?
You know what, if you ask me about 2001 losing to Colorado, this one was like really, I took it really hard because we were right in the prime of our team, just coming off of winning the Stanley Cup in 2000, and that was really disappointing. And 2012 was, I think, a great achievement for all of us. As an organization, we haven't got the chance to get back. After the 2003 win, so we're talking about like 9 years later, and competing for a Stanley Cup and beating two big rivals on the way to playing the Kings. So even though we lost, we were down 3-0. We were able to make it a series. We won the next two, and then to lose in Game 6 in LA. So we accomplished a lot of things, and I was really proud of some of the young guys that we had. Covey was on the team, Zach was on the team, and a couple of older guys that we had. So it was fun, and I really enjoyed my last run to Stanley Cup. That's for sure.
One of your teammates on that run, and one of the big reasons you guys made it to the finals, and he has connections to your new team, Bryce Salvador, announced his retirement from the game yesterday. Did you get a chance to read the Players Tribune article that he wrote? And have you ever thought about writing an article for the Players Tribune similar to that?
Yeah, I'm not a player anymore. So. But, yeah, it's what he went through, I was in the locker room. I didn't even realize half the stuff. That's what it's mind-boggling when people read it. Even the own players, we were kind of shelled, about that. Like nobody really knew what was going on, really. But Bryce was a great teammate. A guy that great example for the young guys to have a guy like that around the locker room. And I wish him the best on his retirement. And again, we reached out to each other, a lot in the past, and hopefully everything's going to go well for him.
What do you remember most about Bryce Salvador in his time in New Jersey? Because you guys spent, half a decade and more together.
Yeah, he came in came in definitely. I think when Brent Sutter was our coach, we got him from St. Louis in a trade for Cam Janssen. I think so. That's probably what I remember the most is somebody got traded for Cam Janssen.
Yeah, that's true. and Cam's probably like, hey, I was traded for a captain, so he probably enjoyed that. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, when do the New Jersey Devils send number 30 to the rafters? Have you had any indication from the team that'll be this season, or do you think it's prudent to maybe wait a year or two on that?
Well, we'll see. I had a little bit of conversation with them. We're kind of trying to see what's the best way of doing it, and eventually, it's going to be announced one way or the other. But something's going to happen eventually.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Now, one last thing before we let you go. The clock started ticking in January on your Hall of Fame eligibility. Have you started writing an induction speech yet, or are you going to wait on that one for a little while?
Oh, I'm going to wait on that one. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, It's definitely it's a great honor for people to mention it all the time, but I never want to jump the gun on anything, so I'll just sit back and wait.
And hey, maybe you might add a Stanley Cup or two to the resume while you're waiting in those 3 years, right?
Well, that's the plan.
Well, listen, Marty, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us here on OntarioSportsRadio.com, and best of luck in St. Louis this upcoming season.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.